So the install's all complete with our lithium system. Dave from Enerdrive was up at the Caravan Repair Centre with us for a couple of days. We taught the guys up there, or Dave did, all about the new lithium system and how to retrofit it to a new van or an old van. The system went into ours, sweet mate.
Yeah, it was unreal.
A couple of hours work running new cables, all the components fitted in fantastically under one storage hatch, which for me is awesome because I don't lose any storage space, which is vital in a caravan. And it works. Like, we tested it down there, we commissioned it at the repair centre, and now we've come into Enerdrive, show the bosses around how it works and how good the system is. And we've had it out today, had the solar cranking, had the aircon on. We've even had a heat gun and a bar heater out of a bathroom.
Yeah, the bar heater, yeah.
So we've fully tested the system, and it performs well above expectation.
Yeah, it was unreal. It's working perfect. Ideally, when we fit these systems, we're mostly aiming to really load test the system thoroughly before we hand them over. That's the goal. That's what we encourage all of our installers to do.
That's it.
The guys at Caravan Repair Centre did an unreal job. They've really gone to town on this one and it's performing perfectly.
Yes, yeah. The last thing we're going to do is jump in, and Dave's going to show us all the components again, and we're going to go through the display that tells us all the input and the data that the system tells us, and that will enable me to track the system health of my batteries and the management system.
Yeah, absolutely. The monitor is the real hub of the system, and it's the monitor that truly makes it user-friendly. You can watch it, you can see exactly where you're at in terms of state of charge, and as you get to know your own system, it really empowers you to make good decisions coming in, late in the evening when you're down to a certain percentage. You get to know basically whether that means you're in trouble or if you're not. Do I need the generator? Do I need to, consider finding another means of charge? Yep. Or are we sweet to go? You get to know your own system thanks to the information available on that display.
Sweet.
So it works really well.
Well, I reckon we get out of the rain and we'll go and have a look.
Okay.
So inside, this is where all the components live, all under one storage hatch. It all fit in there. Because it's in different components in a kit form, you've got that ability to be able to move things around to suit the space you're going to put it in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talk us through, mate, what's in there, what sequence it works in, and how does it power my van up?
Well, basically, if we start from the beginning, obviously the inquiry always stems from the battery itself. People are always looking for a better solution in terms of power. So these are a lithium 300 amp compact battery. You can see right here, it's incredible. We've managed to fit that in this space.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah.
We've maximised that space to fit and accommodate the 3000 combi inverter and the board and so forth. So this is a 300 amp battery. By design, in this particular scenario, there's 76% usable. And what that means is, which we'll go into detail in a moment, but what that means is our system is designed to shut all loads down in this van at 24% state of charge. That's a really good number. We're really ensuring longevity in terms of these cells, and that's what this is all about. Moving on from there, I think what really sets the Enerdrive product apart in terms of lithium systems is our active balancing system. It's phenomenal. That's the device right down here, and effectively it serves a few purposes. Its job is to ensure, first and foremost, that our cells do remain nicely balanced. That's just part and parcel.
So it keeps the whole package healthy, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. A big issue with lithium systems is ensuring that the cells do remain balanced. It doesn't function as a battery in the way that a traditional lead-acid battery like an AGM would function. Balancing of the cells is absolutely critical. And that device there enables us to do it. But beyond that, it also enables us to series and parallel batteries together. So in terms of system design and options available, we do increments of 200 amps and 300 amps in lithium. And thanks to those devices there, we can parallel multiple 200s or 300s. Up to 900
amps,
and some. We can go to town with it, yeah. So we've got applications in commercial applications far exceeding that, and they've been out in the field for a long time and they're working really well.
That's crazy.
So the active balancer is just unbelievable, and that's the device right there. Now, one of the purposes of that active balancer is also to send for want of a word, the message back to this device here. Now, that's our advanced Bms Relay Driver. All lithium systems require a battery management system, and that's the heart of our battery management system. But what's impressive with this particular system is the componentry that accommodates that unit. Now in this case, we've got this whole large white board here, which arrives ready to go and completely assembled by us locally here in Brisbane. And yeah, it's an impressive bit of kit. So what you're looking at within that board is the Bms Relay Driver, which we'll explain a little bit more detail on in a moment. We've got the T-class fuse, we've got a latching relay here, which effectively is designed to switch on and off and isolate all loads within the system.
So potentially a safety switch?
Safety, for want of a better word. That BMS relay driver there is effectively sending a signal to that. It's switching that unit on and off. So should our battery monitor via the shunt down here see that the system's gone to 24%, it'll send information to here asking that to switch this off at 24%. There's your safety for low battery protection, but it's done by state of charge, not by just switching off at voltage, as you'll see with a lot of lithium systems. And likewise, if our cells were out of balance, thanks to our balancing system, we can also send a message to this to turn off that latching relay and protect our system that way. And likewise, through our battery management relay driver, we're also able to switch off all of our charging devices. And that's a remarkable feature about the Enerdrive products that I think is second to none. Effectively, one of the biggest issues we see with lithium systems is this form of protection, this relay that switches off, cutting all the loads. More often than not, it happens when there's a significant load on the system. We're drawing lots of current. And the problem is that when we shut that relay down, that power has to go somewhere. It's in the form of a spike. It's like an EMF. The power has to find its way to ground. Now, what we do through this device, this BMS relay driver, is we shut all of our charging devices down prior to that relay switching off. Invariably, with most systems we see out in the field, charging devices are damaged during the process of that form of relay. Everyone has some version of that relay.
Yep.
Charging devices are damaged when that relay switches off. And that's simply because there's a big load there, the power has to go somewhere, all the chargers are connected to the output side of that relay, and unfortunately it's those chargers that in most cases, cop the damage. So what we do through this is we very kindly, through our temp ports, are able to utilize the firmware built into the units. We switch the chargers off that way. It's what they're designed to do, so we just mirror image that, switch off the chargers, and then we can safely shut down our loads. It's a really good bit of kit, and it's proven to be very successful.
Yeah.
Another great feature about these is the monitor that I mentioned earlier on. That's your shunt for the system down there, and it's a very clever bit of kit. So what that enables us to do is monitor effectively state of charge, what's left in your battery, actual power that's coming in or going out. It's accumulative. Simply put, if you're consuming 10 amps but you're putting in 10 amps from your solar, through your monitor you're going to see the actual number of 10 amps going into your battery, real-time data. And because it can calculate exactly what's coming and going from your battery, at any time it can tell you exactly what the state of charge remaining in your battery is. And then we'll go into more detail on that when we look at the monitor display itself.
Yep.
It's really impressive. And then moving on, we've got the DC to DC charger, the ePower 40 Plus over here. And it's a remarkable unit. Depending on what you choose to do with regards to cable, how you choose to power it up, you can get up to 50 amps out of that unit. And that'll enable you to receive vehicle input. So that's your charging solution from any vehicle, 12 or 24 volts, smart alternator or variable voltage alternator as some would call it, right down to an old-fashioned traditional charging system in an old 80 series cruiser and the likes.
Nice.
That'll receive all vehicle inputs, as well as, should you choose to use it, now we haven't used it in this case, but if you wish to use it from a roof mount point of view of solar, you can feed your solar into it.
Yep.
We opted in this case to simply use the solar input to feed that to an auxiliary plug and feed, as you know, the loose,
portable
I think it was
one.
a 200 watt solar panel.
So we can track the sun.
Yeah,
That's
which will be
right.
really good. It'll take up to 45 volts. On the input side, 800 watts of solar for a 12 volt system. It's an impressive unit. A lot of people will purchase that product just as a high quality solar controller.
Yep.
And it works well. But in this build, of course, over here we've got the TriStar Morningstar TriStar, my apologies, 45 amp solar controller.
And that's taking in our 4 panels
We're
on the
feeding
roof, yeah.
600 watts of solar into that. Why? Put simply, we want the advantage of both forms of charge while traveling. Why limit yourself to just what the vehicle can produce through the DC-DC? So in this case, we've got a battery that's more than capable of taking significant current. We can charge this battery very, very fast. So in this case, we're feeding the vehicle input as well as at the same time 600 watts worth of solar.
So I'm
it's
driving down
remarkably
the
fast.
highway,
Yeah.
and I can, so the DC-DC charger's cranking, plus my panels on the roof are also chopping up the battery.
It's mad. So
That's crazy.
you're in a position to punch in. If you cabled up to receive your sort of 40 to 50 amps, depending on your voltage input,
Yep.
let's call it 40 amps for argument's sakes, And you know, this particular rig's a 45 amp controller. So if you had an array on the roof big enough to punch out 45 amps, there's 85 amps an hour while in transit.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
And for us,
stuff.
the standard travel day is 2 to 3 hours, so that's going to give
us
exactly more than enough to replenish this,
it's
even after
brilliant.
a fair load the day before. It's
Couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we move on to the combi. The combi is effectively an inverter and also an AC battery charger. So whenever you plug into Jenny, if you have it, and obviously mains power, this particular unit has the ability to deliver 120 amps per hour while charging. Trip this system off at 24%, plug it into power, and in 2 hours she's full.
Back to there.
It's
That's
just
insane,
remarkable.
isn't it? That's crazy. So it's really what provides the whole van with this 240 volt, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. From this battery, we're also through that unit feeding a 2600 watt continuous inverter. 3000 VA is what they're rated at here on the face of the unit. And yeah, it's incredible. Like, we'll do some run tests in a few minutes, but this thing's going to comfortably run the washing machine at the same time as the air conditioning and all sorts of things. It's just amazing. Run the microwave. They're an incredible bit of kit. Yeah.
And that's the whole system in there.
The big advantage with that combi, of course, is a lot of people nowadays don't want to carry more than they have to.
No.
Thanks to this unit, we can hook up a little 1000 watt Honda generator. That's fine. It doesn't have to be capable of producing 120 amps out of the combi, out of the charger. We'll show you on the panel up here. We can just dial it down to accommodate the size of the generator.
That's crazy.
So when you're on mains, you can crank it up. But if you don't have that much power available because of the generator, or if because you're running other loads in the system, for say a 2 kVA generator for instance, and that load might be 1000 watts, well, we can just dial it down so that whatever is left, whatever is potentially left in the generator, we can feed this unit and act as a battery charger.
Unreal.
It's incredible.
Up here is where we've decided to mount all our displays, so it's easy to use, easy to see what's happening with the system. Up here, the small gauge is our ePro Plus battery monitor, so that tells us the state of charge and what's happening with the battery itself. And then the display up here is our inverter remote control, so we can dial things up and down, see what current's going in and out, and Dave will explain exactly what's happening when all our systems are on.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll start with the actual display for the inverter charger combi. And effectively, I think, putting it straight, the main thing you need to remember with that unit is it's not the battery monitor. It is simply controls and information regarding the inverter charger combi. It's a cool bit of kit. Obviously it extends all the action that you can do down there, so you don't need to access that space to use this Caravan. We can turn it on and off from here quite soundly. Turn on the backing light and what have you if you want to press the button. And then through this knob here you can just scroll down through all the features. So you'll notice there you can see everything from input voltage, are we plugged into the Caravan for instance, current that we're producing from the unit. So if we're plugged into mains and you want to see how many amps you're putting in, you can do it. Is the charger finished charging? It'll tell you when it's going to float. And likewise, you can also do a few more things. We can press this down and adjust the AC amps that passes through the unit. So,
so generator use,
it's incredible. As I mentioned before, you can run that 1000 watt generator, or 1 kVA generator, just under 1000 watts. And you can comfortably just dial this down to suit that application.
Perfect.
And get as much as what you can get out of that unit to recover power in your batteries. So it works quite well in that respect.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And then go to the little dial. If we want to flick on a few loads now, and then you can explain the figures. Yeah,
so what are we using at the moment? I can't see from this angle.
We're 6.36 amps.
Okay, so let's turn on some stuff.
All right, so if we flick the aircon on, do you want to run that one? You flick the main switch on. And then what do we got to do? Press this sucker.
Yep. So it takes a while. I noticed
takes a while to ramp up.
Unit. These Dometic units are unreal. I can't believe this new air conditioning unit.
It's crazy.
It's second to none in terms of consumption. Power.
Yeah.
It's beautiful and soft on the startup. We have no issues at all with startup current. And the most I've seen so far consumed out of the battery is 61 amps per hour, which sounds a lot for those that are used to a few LED lights and a water pump, but in terms of those that want the creature comforts, I've never found an air conditioning unit that's this efficient.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is the new model. It's a Dometic Harrier, and it's got soft start inverter technology, and we've bench tested it at CRVC, and then we've tested it in the van, then we've tested it again today, and it's just performing brilliantly. So for these guys who run aircons all the time off their battery systems, it's some pretty impressive figures.
Sure is. So anyways, now that that's ramped up, I'll just duck in here. Okay, we're still not chewing that much power, so the actual compressor so far hasn't loaded up, but while we're waiting for that to load up, You can see here that we're pulling 10.5 amps at the moment, and we've got 83% left in the battery. And that's 83% of the 300 amps that's there. So when that gets down to 24%, as we were saying earlier on, through the controls built into the shunt, we're actually going to tell the BMS to shut the system down at 24%. We can do that thanks to this system here.
That's insane.
So it's really good. These are a great product. We don't need them just for the lithium systems. It's very, very common to have this in any van or motorhome application running off traditional AGM batteries. It's just good peace of mind to know what's left in your battery.
That's it, yeah.
And if we flick through here, okay, we're now pulling 42 amps and climbing, so we'll come back to that in a few minutes as the air conditioning keeps loading up. We can also see that in watts. It's still climbing. We're up to 657 watts at the moment that we're consuming directly from the battery. And so far, another interesting piece of information on this is total consumption so far. We've pulled 50 amps out of the system.
Since when? So how does that...
Since it was 100% full.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So each time it goes to 100% is a cycle. So that figure will reset
That's
each
correct.
time. Okay.
Yeah. And then moving on, we do have a time to go feature on here as well. You've got to take it with a grain of salt to a degree because it's a varying number. You know, we're constantly turning things on and off, cranking up air conditioning, start the microwave, fridge is cycling on and off.
Yep.
But it is a really good rough indicator just to give you a more rough point of view as to what's left time within your system.
And that time left, is that down to the percent cutout or is that full battery life?
That's down to 100% of the battery's capacity at this stage. We are looking at ways to change that. We'd love for that to be the top 76%, but we're just not there yet.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then moving on, it does have a feature for temperature. We haven't plugged the temperature sensor into this one, but that's simply because we've plugged one into the combi, so you can see that information from there. And in our case, we've opted to use that just to keep an eye on the temperature in that space. But you could also plug another temperature sensor into this. We get people that leave them in their fridge.
Yeah, right.
So if you want to,
as an auxiliary
you can
one.
see what's going on with your fridge, or if you just want it in for your own peace of mind on those stinking hot days, you can, you can look at this and feel hotter, you know. So. And then, okay, our battery voltage, which is quite interesting at the moment. We're showing 3.15 volts, and yet we're pulling just on 60 amps, 59.88 amps, which for those that are savvy with the battery industry today, that's remarkable. To pull that sort of current and still have over 13 volts consistent is just insane. Yeah,
and you know it's working. It's so cold, and you get down the back of the van there where the kids' bunks are, and you can just feel that air. It's astounding.
And we're up and running now. So to give you an idea, at the moment we're pulling 60.5 amps.
And that's as high as it's been, isn't it?
And that's lock and load. That's as cold as this thing can blow. So I'm sure potentially on a stinking hot day that could possibly consume a little bit more power. But in terms of running air conditioning, I'm very, very happy with that. It'll work really well. So I've got to say, the guys at Caravan Repair Centre have just done an unbelievable job here.
Yeah, it's a schmick install.
The thing about retrofitting is it's never as smooth, it never will be as smooth as at an OEM level. It's easy to do things nice when you're manufacturing from scratch. And these guys have really proven that they're able to bring as close as possible a fully integrated end result to a retrofit solution, and I think they've done that really well.
Mate, I'm bloody happy. I live in this van full time. We're going to give this a real life test over the next few months, years. We're going to provide real life data to these guys at Enerdrive from a family who lives in the van and uses everything flat out, and we're going to give them truthful results back with what happens with their system, how it works, how much time we get into using it, and we're going to really flog it. And it's for these guys, it's great because they get real life data. For us, it's fantastic because we get the functional, like our whole van purely running off a battery system is fantastic. The amount we're going to save on caravan park fees, on stopping and buying coffee for the missus, all those sorts of things, we can do that all in our van now, all thanks to the Enerdrive product and the guys here and their knowledge, mate. I can't thank you enough. It's going to be great. So
we're 7 years into these systems now. There's been a few changes and tweaks. We've gotten them better and better along the way, and that's what it's all about. And I'll make no promises that this will be the same system in a year's time. You know, we're constantly learning and evolving. Yeah, exactly right. But in 7 years, we've just had amazing success, and it speaks for itself. It's
good. All power to you.
Yeah.
So, any questions, guys? Like I said, I'm going to live and breathe it. I'm happy for you guys to contact me through our pages. The Caravan Repair Centre has got a great guy up there, Brad. He's going to be your point of contact for it. And then also you've got Enerdrive, their website, their contact details. Check it out. Keep watching what we do over the next few months and years. You're going to want one of these in your van pretty soon, I think. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, guys. No worries.
Just before I go, guys, keep following Trip in a Van. Justin and Beck are going to be able to answer any questions you guys have with regards to their system. And likewise, a big shout out to the team at Caravan Repair Centre. These guys are going to be in a position to offer you excellent service with regards to advice, supply and installation. Give them a call or look them up online. And likewise, if you have any other questions, contact us directly at Enerdrive. We're more than happy to help you out anytime.